Hello, welcome to Look East, live from Norwich Crown Court. Tonight we're making television history, the first time a whole programme has been broadcast from inside a Crown Court. We'll be talking to the judge and to barristers, and we'll be asking whether we put too many people behind bars.
Also in tonight's news...
Hello, we're actually in court number 4 at Norwich Crown Court, and we're here thanks to His Honour Judge Jacobs, who is making us his guests this evening. We've also got with us some students, law students from the University of East Anglia. If you were in this court today, this is where the probation service would be sitting, and if you come over here, this is where the press sit, making all of their notes about what's been going on. We'll be talking to barristers, we'll be talking to the judge, and we'll be asking whether we've got too many people behind bars. Mike Liggins has been looking at the figures.
Thanks, Stuart. Yes, we've got some facts and figures about the criminal justice system. This is Exhibit A, the number of prisons we have in our region, 14 of them. We've got everything from Hoathly Bay, an open prison in Suffolk, to Whitemoor, a maximum security prison in Cambridgeshire. And there's one new prison, of course, due to open next month just north of Norwich. That's at Coltishall. OK, the prison population in this region, Exhibit B, last month 8,702, and there were only 242 places remaining last September. One or two names and faces you might recognise: Jeffrey Archer and Jonathan Aitken, who were at Hoathly Bay for a time; Charles Bronson and Ian Huntley, who were at Wood Hill Prison. Now, tonight we'd also like to hear your views about the criminal justice system. Perhaps you've been through the courts, perhaps you've been inside. What was your experience? Do get in contact. Or perhaps you've been the victim of a crime. Well, do tell us your story. You can get in contact via text, email or via phone, and I'll have your views and comments in about 20 minutes' time. Stuart.
So let's start with a look at the criminal justice system as seen by those people who, for one reason or another, have been in contact with it. This report from our Home Affairs correspondent, Sally Chidzoy.
In the UK, we like to lock up people. We top Europe's prison population league table. The criminal justice system here is seen as the answer to problem people. The focus is not on tackling the causes of crime, so many prisoners simply reoffend and flit in and out of our overcrowded jails. Prisoners like this convicted shoplifter and drug user from Ipswich. Diana, not her real name, has been inside about 70 times. She treats prison like a hotel.
The sentence itself was very small, but it did give me a much-needed break. You know, they were that small that I could sleep through the actual whole of the sentence that I got. And being drug-dependent, I always needed a break to do that.
Diana would leave jail refreshed and free to steal £400 worth of clothes from stores every day. To her, jail was no punishment. To many victims of crime and their families, the criminal justice system turns out to be a letdown. This mother says she'll never forgive decorated soldier Simon Russell from RAF Honington in Suffolk, who befriended and groomed her 13-year-old daughter before abusing her. He got 5 years.
They've obviously done what they can in their eyes. I wish it had been longer. We were hoping for at least 8 years plus for the crimes that he did commit. My daughter's life has been ruined. I just hope to God he has a rotten time of it in there and rots in hell.
Is the soaring prison population the result of a crime wave or a punishment wave? Many say it's politically driven, politicians talking tough on crime to win votes.
We think that for many, certainly lower level offenders, that measures such as drug treatment facilities in the community, mental health facilities to support community penalties would be more effective. We also think it would stop prisons becoming, as they are at the moment, simply social dustbins.
The prison is overrun with petty shoplifters and criminal damage people and, you know, just public order offences, which is ridiculous, really, when they need to make room for more violent offenders and more serious offenders, I think.
As it stands, the criminal justice system is seen as failing many victims and offenders. The challenge now is what to do about it. Sally Chidzoy, BBC Look East.
Well, let's talk to Judge Jacobs. Do we lock too many people up?
Well, first of all, when I sentence people, I don't pluck a figure out of the air. It's not done on a whim. There are clear guidelines which are laid down by the Court of Appeal or by the Sentencing Guidelines Council for me to follow. And if I don't follow those, both the prosecution and defence can appeal me.
Are those guidelines right?
I think they are. The guidelines make it clear that people who commit serious offences such as rape, serious sexual offences, robberies, serious assaults, house burglaries, should be imprisoned. And if such people weren't imprisoned, then public confidence in the system would rapidly diminish. And in fact, the complaints you get these days are normally from people who say that we're too lenient in sentencing. And those figures, I would suspect, are the same in Europe. It's just that some of those offences are more prevalent here.
You talk to a lot of people and they would say, let's lock up those people who make life a misery for me. I'm not too bothered about big corporate crime or anything like that. Why don't those people get longer sentences?
You have to recognise that a number of people commit offences because they have all sorts of lifestyle problems. Many of them have had problems in their own family life. They've been excluded from schools. And by the time many of them reach the Crown Court, we're already in a very difficult position in terms of trying to rehabilitate them. But nonetheless, there has to be a balancing act. We do try to rehabilitate a lot of low-level offenders. The problem comes when they don't carry out the community penalties which we impose upon them. They don't turn up for their probation appointments. They don't do their unpaid work.
So have we lost respect for the law? Has society lost respect for the law?
Some people have, not society as a whole. There is probably about 5% of people who probably have, sadly. And we have to try and enforce the law as it stands. As you say, if you've got people, youngsters in particular, who are a constant nuisance, then we can't be seen, as far as I'm concerned, just to be letting them get away with it. And as far as I'm concerned, if they then don't do their unpaid work, or they don't try to attend their probation appointments, the only sanction we have then is to lock them up. And when you hear these stories about people being locked up for shoplifting, it's rarely that simple. If you look at their records, you'll find they've probably committed many, many shoplifting offences, and drug rehabilitation orders and unpaid work orders and supervision orders have all been tried and failed. What are we left with?
Do you ever get frustrated?
Yes. Sometimes I get terribly frustrated. If I have people in front of me in the dock who haven't done their own paid work, and I say to them, look, you've got one more chance to do it. Go away and do these remaining 40 or 50 hours, and they nod, and then 2 or 3 weeks later they're back before you and they haven't done them, and one despairs because...
And then you lock them up?
Then I lock them up. What choice do I have? But then it's probably reported as somebody who was being locked up for shoplifting or for some low-level offence, and it wasn't like that.
Judge, thank you very much for having us here this evening as well, and thank you very much for those strong views.
Glad you're coming. We're desperately anxious to try to increase public interest in the courts. I just wish more members of the public would come in and actually see what we do and how difficult some of the sentencing decisions we have to make are.
Okay, we'll come back to you in a little while, I suspect. Now, one of the ideas which is being tried out is to engage with young people, and one way that they've been doing that in Norfolk is to encourage them to make films like this.